Did you know women need more sleep than men? And I was at a conference yesterday and someone said AI is going to replace teachers. So with that in mind, why is the future AI?
In higher education, some institutions have started looking into authentic assessments.
I set the bar of what the students require to get into my sixth form.
How did you achieve this? What are the methods you've used and your strategies and all of that?
3 billion people get their news from social media, mainly TikTok.
Welcome back to Dare to Disrupt, a podcast where we unpack the biggest shift in education technology and AI in education. Today, we'll be discussing the use of AI in higher education and K-12 settings. And joining me today is my friend Alex. I would like you to introduce yourself to our listeners.
First of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the invitation here. So like you said, my name is Alex Gray. I am the head of sixth form at Arcadia British School here in Dubai. I've been an educator since 2006 and I've been out in Dubai since 2015. What else is there to say about myself? I know you've asked me this before. I am someone who's interested in teaching, but also very much interested in all the other parts that go with that, the technology, the research, the interconnected nature of what it should be and could be. And so I kind of think I'm probably, if I was to sum it up, and my wife would probably say this, I'm probably a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. It's probably the best way to describe how I approach it and probably who I am, yeah.
Right. Thank you very much for the introduction. And I'll just deep dive into the question. Basically, the question was from our previous guest, and it was around if you could change anything to disrupt assessment in this age of AI, what would you change?
Mine's dead easy. Just get rid of it.
Just get rid of assessment?
Just get rid of assessment.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never heard that one.
It solves the problem, doesn't it?
Okay.
Just get rid of it.
Okay.
And I think what we're meaning there is we're talking about summative assessment. We're talking about exams, end of course exams, end of term exams, things where we recognize you just don't need it.
Right.
You just don't need them. And I think today, if I was to ask you the question, I'd go, right, what's the value of a GCSE? What's the value of an A-level? What's the value of a degree?
Right.
10, 15 years ago, what would you say it was?
I think it was just to be able to, filter people down, filter students that are trying to gain access to higher education or all that. And I feel like I've attended a seminar recently, and they were talking about where are we headed exactly with these assessments, and why does that have to be a yardstick for us to, for students to gain admission into universities, and if it's possible to start looking into other assessment method or other criteria for that matter, because not all size fits all, right?
Yeah.
For students, yeah.
And now, I wouldn't say it's worthless,
Right.
but I'd say the value is under question.
Okay.
Most definitely. If you think, like say, I don't know the UK education system, when I went and looking at the cost of it, if you think as a UK resident going to university in the UK, you're going to pay almost £10,000 a year, so over £30,000 a year for 3 years, student debt, all these, apart from the experience you get, is there value in the education you come out with from that? That's the biggest question now, and in terms of that has to filter then down into schools with the A-levels, with the GCSEs and the types of subjects we're doing and how very linear and one size fits all they are. So for me, just get rid of them.
But I have another take on that anyway, because if you get rid of exams, for example, then how do you decide who is actually doing the right thing, who is studying, who is preparing for the future, and so to speak? So, for example, in my own perspective, I would rather getting rid of exam to redesign it. And for example, in higher education, some institutions have started looking into authentic assessments. For example, having students to develop their own portfolio, having students for presentation.
But there's the thing.
Exactly.
When we say assessment, it's such a rounded, we've got to be very careful what we mean by assessment.
Yeah.
Like what we're talking about there is a formative assessment.
Exactly.
What we're talking about there is a different way of reviewing and capturing knowledge and learning.
Right.
And I think assessments as they stand with examinations are not a way of capturing learning, capturing knowledge, capturing understanding.
Right.
Like look at, well, here we go, the American system. It's not necessarily world renowned, but as a GPA system and everything else, portfolio, no exams.
Right.
Whereas Canada might be very similar. There are places around the world very, very similar. BTECs, going to VTECs, vocational, no exams, hands-on experience, experiential learning.
Exactly.
So I think from that side, when I say get rid of it, I'm saying get rid of exams.
Right.
And that would never. And here's my cynical part: why it will never happen.
Yeah.
Like if I said to you, how much did AQA as an exam board make last year? Tens of millions of pounds.
Exactly.
If they wanted to, and as we as schools wanted to, we could do. And I, again, as a head of sixth form, I set the bar of what the students require to get into my sixth form. My school sets the bar. There's nowhere in the world that says you have to get a grade 7. It's not written in law. Schools set that.
Right.
Most schools happen to set the same one. If you want to come and study science, you need a 7 at GCSE. Maths is probably a 7 at GCSE. Some other subjects that aren't as reviewed as here, what I'm saying is the KHJ will look at math, science, English. That's the yardstick for whether you're outstanding. Islamic and Arabic come into that at A level. But you then go, well, humanities and other subjects might be 6s. Yeah, but we set that. Now there's data to support that says most students who attain these grades will then go on to get your A stars to C, A stars to B at GCSE. But the reality is that we are in control. So if we as schools recognised a curriculum that we made as GCSEs, and I got 20 other schools to go, hey, would you want to recognise this? It's going to be the equivalent of, let's say, a level 2 BTEC. It's going to merge these couple of things together like AI, ethics, all these different things.
Right.
Would you recognise that? I'm going to recognise that in my sixth form. Would you be happy to? It then gives students the skills to go on and do these A-level courses. I could come to Birmingham University and go, we're going to do this at GCSE and this at A-level. Would you recognise it? Because you're your own institute. You don't have anyone else governing you. If you want to, it could be really easy.
Yeah.
Like it could be. And then you have to question, what's the block? And you can't help but be cynical of it to some extent and go, is it money? Is it parents that are in my generation now that go, well, I did exams and I'm almost...
kids have to do exams.
I mean, I'm almost 42. Like back in 2000 when I did mine. And then in 2002, my A-levels. And I think, what's changed?
Right.
What's the value of it now? And so, yeah, the part of me is I think it's now easier than what it once was to design your own curriculums.
I like the part where you've mentioned formative assessment, because there's a lot of experiments we can do with formative assessment. But when it comes to the summative part of assessment, where it shows the entire overall grade and all of that, and that's where it becomes tricky. We want to have students on campus, for example, from university settings. We want to have them on campus to have them write their exam physically without having to use AI-generated materials. And we also use something called the lockdown browser, where, if you're doing online exams, you get locked down and then you can't access other web pages and all of that. So these are the little things that we're doing to ensure that the academic rigor, the academic integrity, which is a very, very big problem in higher education settings. Do you have something similar in K-12 in terms of, because I understand that there is safeguarding and all of that for younger generation? So
within the K-12, when it comes to actually digital assessments, like unless you're IB based, they will run eNYP. So they run their electronic ones, mainly at the NYP. And there was always talk about doing it IB, but I don't think they've rolled that out for the 16 to 18s properly yet. But I can be corrected. GCSE and A-levels, no. It's all still written. The only thing that changes is whether it's modular versus linear. And when I say linear, I mean examined at the end of a 2-year course. That probably is a thing that's I think, should have most discussion. And just go, look, let's just scrap 2-year exams. Let's just go modular to start with. And then even with that, you could differentiate how you are assessed over those periods of times where it's like, right, we might do an assessment on this. There might be a practical component. There might be a Viva where we're talking about it. There might be something you have to create and design. Why are we not bringing in things that go, right, here's a real world problem. create a solution, research, show the process of it, not the outcome, but the process of how you would do it.
Exactly. And that's what one of my guests said, Dr. Asim. He said, I think it should be about the process now, not the product, because we should be able to assess the process itself. How did you get here?
Yeah.
How did you achieve this? What are the methods you've used and your strategies and all of that? So that brings me to the question of when, how do you ensure that the student you're sending from K-12 to higher education are well prepared in this age of AI, especially, being an ethical user and, responsible user of AI in education?
It's quite challenging, actually, because the generation of students, I would say right now, 16 to 18, a small percentage of them are interested in AI for the right reasons. And that is the curiosity of the process and how things happen and using it as a learning resource. The problem that the students have nowadays in that is that the schools place and parents place the pressure of the destination, as in you have to get this grade.
Right.
So nowhere in there am I really thinking about developing my learning strategies and skills so I can be successful post-school. So when I go to university, I know what to do. When I leave university, I know what to do in terms of lifelong learning. So their fixation is very much on, I use it to get the answer and then I move on.
Right.
Where we have in lower down the school, so the year 7s and 8s, so the 11s, 12s, 13-year-olds, are far more curious, are far more malleable and interested in developing skill sets because they're still forming habits. The 18-year-olds today, their habits are formed. And so when it comes to introduce something to them that's a foreign thing like, I don't know, vibe coding, or when it comes to even setting up a notebook LM, this repository of a second brain, they're like, oh, okay, not interested. It's like you realize this could really help you. Yeah, but it's just, and there's a reason for it. They always tend to revert back to, I'll just revise reading and writing. And I thought the exam results this year were better, globally higher for A-levels, because the access to AI was so much greater and the AI was so much better that you kind of have to think, I wonder if students were using it more revision-wise, testing-wise. You look now at the sites and the products available for revision, all using AI, all giving immediate feedback, all able to do this. And yes, they're more expensive, but I wonder if the two are correlated. For us, the bigger picture is making them ready as lifelong learners, and one capacity of that has to be about ethical and appropriate use of AI.
Exactly.
And how they use it as a learning tool to therefore make them better in their subject, more curious, more knowledgeable, be able to hold better conversations about those topics, those human sides of skills. And we talk then about proximity, like where is the proximity of the human to human versus the human to machine? And that is a real key thing for them to understand. And the challenge is right now, it's fixed. It's really challenging because only a small percentage want to use it. So you're kind of having to go, look, I'm going to send you off with a little bit of knowledge, but you're going to have to figure this out because you're not really interested in it right now because it isn't important. Whereas I think with the students we have coming through from lower year groups, AI literacy that's in there and the different things, curriculum and how it's being embedded, and we're still waiting to see how the new KHJ framework is going to look like, whether those things are in there, innovation, something important, they're going to get more of it. And so when they're probably in 5 years' time, when we come back, if we had this same question again, it would be, well, actually, they're able to use it as a thinking tool. I've got students building their own apps and websites to support them in their own learning. Those will be the things where students go, oh, I've got a problem. I've built my own app for that, and it's took me like a couple of hours.
Exactly.
I think that's going to be the biggest difference.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you mentioned that some students are actually not interested in using it. And I've had a conversation with a teenager recently that asked me that all this hype about AI and all of that, what happens if I decide that I don't want to be part of this? I don't want to be using it. I don't like it. I don't want to use it. And I was like, I was really, I didn't know how to respond to that, honestly. And I was like, the future is AI, it's technology, and that's where we're headed. However, no one can force anyone to use anything or not to use whatever they don't want to use. But it's just always very good to have an idea, just the basic knowledge, even if you don't want to use that, or just to understand what it is. How would you respond to such a question?
So I'm going to answer your question with my question.
Okay.
Why is the future AI?
Because that's where we edit. Everything is AI. You can see AI penetrating all the sectors, health sector, government, parastatals, higher education, K-12, education in general, and banking, even law firm, and all of that. And they've even started adding it on the job description as well, as we can see. So I feel like even if someone don't really want to use it, they should just have an idea,
But and here's the continuation of challenge for that one. Where's the evidence for that? Or is it just rhetoric? One person said this and it's just cascaded down.
Yeah, I like that. I like that question. So according to the World Economic Forum report recently, they've shown the future of job and what employers are looking for. And it was really fascinating because it shows that you just don't need to be techie. You don't need to know all of the technology. A lot of employers are still looking for the soft skills, critical thinking, leadership, communication skills, and all of that.
Empathy,
exactly.
So, with that in mind,
why
is the future AI?
Well,
and it's something to be mindful of. And I say this because it's very easy for us to live in a vacuum, an echo chamber, whereas one person says the future is AI, and then everyone just starts to say the same thing about it without stopping to really go, but why? I heard, someone said. It's like, okay, well, let's go, show me some evidence that's really going to be that.
Right.
It's like AI has been around, where are we going back into the 50s?
Absolutely.
You've got the Turing tests, all these different things. It's only been in the public domain since 2022. November 2022, the public domain, when ChatGPT launched, and everyone said it's going to take your jobs. And I was at a conference yesterday, and someone said AI is going to replace teachers. And someone outright said that on a stage, it's going to replace it. And then they had to actually dribble back a little bit, because it's like, well, actually what I mean by that is it's not going to replace you. The definition and description of what teaching is will change. So, and why is that? Because now how we learn and what's being learned as a teacher used to be, I've gone and got a degree, I understand, for me, human biology, I've been trained a little bit on pedagogical approaches, and I've had to then go and practice and learn what works, but I am the imparter of knowledge. And then the internet, okay, well now I can use this and students can use this, and now there's another resource, another availability. So where the information lies, like, I'm redundant. Right. My job as someone who imparts knowledge is redundant. AI can assist with that, but that's been around for ages. The ways to gather knowledge has been around for ages. Like, what is it that's going to bring to the table that makes it change? What is it that's going to bring to the table that makes me, as it currently stands, redundant? It's like, okay, it's that part, but what are the other parts that are important that AI can't do? And I think that's the biggest thing to focus on when we say future-wise. The things that AI can't teach me necessarily is empathy. Right. It can't teach me eye contact. It can't teach me what a good handshake feels like.
Exactly.
Okay? It's those important things to recognize tone, facial cues, body language, those things that will always be important, because we forget that we are a species and our survival depends on, and our movement forward depends on one another. To be human is those connections go all the way back of why did we outcompete Homo, Neanderthal ancestors? Why did we outcompete cavemen? Okay, yeah, we had a bit of luck from the environment changing, but history shows that we were social animals. Cave paintings, all those different things, development of language, all came from human interaction.
A proper biology teacher speech.
Yeah, so, but it's that, because we talk about it is evolution. It's when I started teaching 20 years ago, it was different.
Yeah.
It was PowerPoint on board. It was me. I shouted, listened. If you didn't, it's like go to, Yeah. Whereas today it's different. It's very different. Things change, and that's what evolution is. And it's very much the same of that. Yes, AI is embedded into things that I just use. But it's in Netflix, it's in Spotify, it's in YouTube, all of these things. What we're talking about is leveraging the public resource of it for doing certain things. And so the skill lies in how do you leverage AI to do these things and do these things better, but I still need to have a human eye to check, because it might say something, and if I don't have an expertise and knowledge-based domain knowledge to go, hang on a minute, this has said that plants are red. Well, I know that plant leaves should be green because of these reasons.
Exactly.
Now, if you are lacking expertise and lacking knowledge, you're not going to pull that up. So you've got to mitigate for these things. And I think we need to be very mindful of going, the use of AI is going to allow us to do exponential things in the future.
Right.
If I'm someone who then goes, you know what, I'm going to pump the brakes, I'm not really interested. I'm going to develop on being, human skills, these types of things, communication. It's like, at some point, there might start to be a disparity because, depending on what field of work you want to go into, but there's always going to be other people that use it.
Absolutely.
But then it's one of those. Do you want your pilot? Do you want your pilot that's going to fly your plane? What do you want? Do you want the human or do you want the AI?
Exactly.
Even though human error might be higher, it's something about it. What about the doctor?
Exactly.
Who do you want treating you? It's like, what about surgery? Like 24, AI, robots, 24-hour on-demand surgeon, more precise, more this. And still, we as humans, we're like,
And this is why I champion human AI synergy. I've written a book chapter on human AI synergy and how we have to be the human driver behind it and oversight, seeing all of the output and all of that. And I like how you mentioned that as well, that if you don't have the expertise, no matter what AI gives you, you can't question it properly at all. And that statement that you said somebody mentioned in the conference, I've heard that a lot about AI is going to replace you, AI is going to replace teachers and all of that. And I feel like it causes a lot of skepticism, isn't it, amongst teachers. And I believe that how we can help teachers to prepare them for what's coming is through professional development and all of that. What does professional development look like in school?
I think it varies. Every school is slightly different. And because I would say the use of AI and the effective use of it is still new, like people are still figuring it out. And every school has its own context. And every leadership team is trying to establish, what does that look like for us? How do we want to use it? Where does it fit? And the goalposts seem to be continually moving.
Right.
Because it's so hard to keep up then with the advancement of technology, what do we want? And it's within professional development, you're seeing a real mix of competence and confidence of how to use it and who uses it. The challenge you face is when you've got teachers who are young and old, who are experts, whose exam results are phenomenal. I'm going to ask you the question, well, why should I use it? If I'm still being judged on these results, why should I change? Like, if it's not, and that's why there is a phrase, isn't it? If it's not broke,
don't fix it.
There's nothing to, that's the thing, there's nothing to fix.
Yeah.
And so it's more about then thinking the holistic development of a child. How do we change curriculums? How do we that? So that when we come to professional development, it's then about upskilling educators to accelerate and to transform all of these different things. Because the reality is, linear this year, I think, is going. And then the other biology part of me is that ecosystems are the way forward. Ecosystems are the interaction of different living and non-living things, and then how they are dependent on one another for their survival. AI is that, and you can set it up within a school to have this ecosystem so that if I'm teaching science and I've got what I can make as my own app ecosystem, that when feeds in goes, right, I'm going to look at what's the correlation of this to another subject. And what if I asked you it in a different language? And what if I did this? So as an ecosystem, I don't think linear, that science is science and biology is only this, and the skills I learned in English aren't applicable to that. It's like, no, it's rubbish. Ecosystems, and it's just called interdisciplinary. We work in silos, whereas now I think the term is shifting. Go, look, it's an ecosystem. Learning is an ecosystem. It's, if you look at it from metacognition, it's a domain knowledge. We bank areas within the brain of, hey, this is a domain for language, this might be a domain for the science, this is a domain. And all we're doing now is we want to develop students to be like, right, I can think and move between my domains of knowledge to make sense of this. Well, if we want students to do that, we have to teach in that respect. So that, for me, would be professional development, where an English teacher, or for me as a biology teacher or a music teacher, could bring that in and go, hey, I'm going to input this part, And the ecosystem is going to allow me to see and provide opportunities for students to go, right, music is this, yeah, great, but on a frequency level, on a harmony level, on an affecting mood, let's look at the biochemistry it produces. And work of that has already been done. We know there's loads of research on that. But how do we bring it into school? How do we make it easier for teachers who are not a specialist in that to then develop and challenge their own thinking, and therefore adapt ideas to then challenge student thinking, so they can go home to parents and go, hey, mum, dad, did you know that there's different like wavelengths within the brain, and different music changes how you feel, and you can see it, and these MRI machines that do that. And they'll be like, oh wow, there's a real interconnection of the world there and how music affects your mood, and now you understand the body chemistry of that and all these other things. It's like, yeah, that for me is a professional development. Bringing AI in isn't no longer just about prompting and learning how to prompt. And I say that in that monotone because that's what it is. Context
Exactly.
is what we're seeing now. I say it's context is king.
Right.
Like, and on that, it's going to move to the concept of ecosystems,
Right.
the connective nature of knowledge. Because it's no longer just a gatekeeper of me as your biology teacher. That's it. I'm the one you come to.
I really love this perspective. I never thought of it like that.
So bringing it together in that respect, it's like, well, actually, I could teach 100 kids.
Yeah.
Bring 100 kids in, we'll put them on there. There's me as the science, them as the music. I've got my maths teacher, I've got them. It's like, why? Because if you have a specialist problem, then the maths teacher. But the ecosystem is going to churn out different ways of you thinking and linking and bringing these together. And imagine what you could do with that on a whole, as a mass scale, for student thought process and development and problem solving.
So are you saying, because for example, in higher education, what I've noticed is upskilling of educators is not mandatory.
No.
It's voluntarily. However, I notice it's more mandatory when it comes to school. What would you say about that? Which method is best? Do you think we should go for hybrid and saying that, okay, it doesn't have to be, mandatory, and also we also want you to use it because also let's be factual.
Yeah.
Schools want return on investment. They want to enhance student experience as well, and they've gotten all of this technology. They need to train teachers to use it properly, effectively in the classroom. But striking the balance from making it mandatory and non-mandatory and voluntary. So, what would you say about that?
So every school I've worked at, and that's from 2006, has done some form of professional development. Some good, some bad, some indifferent. And all say it's mandatory. Why? And I think we need it. And it's one of those, and you say, it's like, would you trust a doctor who's not been on a course for 5 years? It's like, why do they examine pilots every year? I think it's good. I think because those are areas of responsibility within our society, we put great trust into them. And within our students, within our children, we put great trust into teachers. That's why, again, you have to pass certain criteria, the teacher licensing, there's all of these things. But the school in itself sets the precedent for PD. There's not anything out there, universal, country, whatever, goes, professional development is this. We want to make sure we're hitting these things. Therefore, from a state, we're going to give you this and we want to be able to tick off these things. Okay, what if I've got someone that can already do that? What do I do with them? And that is me talking about myself realistically and the issues I've had with, it's like, what are you going to do with me? For my professional development, what are you going to do, in that respect? Because I do these things, I'm interested in this. It's like, so are you the one that's always leading, or are you the one that gets to learn? And if you're the one doing the talking, then when do I get to listen? And it's hard in terms of professional development, because I also think from a teaching perspective, if you're the SLT member that's responsible for that, it's the hardest job. No one agrees with you. I say this, and this is from speaking to people. It's like, because you're never going to please everyone. You're going to be the one that's basically having a real deep dive into someone's professionalism and their judgment, and saying to them, actually, you're good at this, you're not good at this, you need to get better. It's like, oh, okay. And then it's then deciding what's the fit, what does this person need to do? But it's then thinking about how do we plan effective PD, and really trying to forensically dive into what does that mean? What does professional development mean? And I think when you look at what it means to be professional in that respect, and what it means for what we mean in terms of performance.
Right.
That for me is the greatest thing. Performance is a consistency of approach. And so when we talk about athletes and we talk about footballers, we talk about how they've gone out and do, we don't talk about, PD, look how professional they are, look at what they've done. We talk about performance, how consistent they have been over a period of time. And I think in that respect, and some schools and some institutes do it exceptionally well, is let's just look at performance. Performance is about those things. How do we make it so that you're more and more and more consistent? So the gap's there. What do you need to become consistent? Is it questioning? Is it technology use? Is it these things? What are you interested in? Why don't we approach PD the same way we approach teaching in classrooms? And there is such a thing as andragogy. You go from there to hutagogy.
Exactly.
You bring these things together. And it's challenging because, okay, if I was the SLT member doing that and I go into teaching and learning, what training do I get? What makes me good at being able to deliver
Properly.
professional development? And some people excel in it, some people struggle with it. And we see some people who are excellent public speakers. Some people are not. Some people deliver wonderful workshops and understand how adults learn. Some people don't. And then you kind of go, well, what's the training being given to them? Like, who decides? And it's a quagmire.
Like training the trainers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a sticky area to be in because, again, you can get some really good ones, you can get some really poor ones, and then at the end of the day, hang on a minute, shouldn't I be in control and shouldn't I have a say of what I want to do? So is it something that's done with me or something that's done to me? And I think a lot of teachers out there listening and watching will go, I just get it done to me. I get told what to do. And it's like, hang on a minute, this isn't what I want or need. Where's my say? Where's my choice? You tell me in a classroom I have to give student choice. Where's my choice?
Yeah.
And it's tricky.
And if you look at technology acceptance model as well, it's emphasized on the ease of use of technology and the usefulness of technology. So educators have to see that, first of all, it's useful. How is this going to save my time and all of that? And they have to see that it's actually easy to use. Because if it's not easy, if we can't make it easy for them, if they have to, because let's be real, educators have a lot of workload already.
Time poor.
Exactly. Where is the time that you're giving them to be able to practice, to be able to try, reiterate, and all of that, and give space for them to fail and retry as well, but not just getting technology and saying we have to start using it now, and then this is a video for you to watch and then start using it and all of that. In higher education settings, what we've noticed is that it's very different. When you have a new technology and you have to upskill educators or professors, so to speak, what you need to do is more of people management, change and process management, trying to challenge the status quo and not saying that, because they will push back in terms of technology acceptance and resistance. They will push back saying that, why do I have to use it now? I've been teaching excellently for the past 30 years and my students are doing fine. How would this make my life better? So it's about, changing that narrative, changing the perspective and letting them know that we don't want to use yesterday's style to teach today's students.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a really tricky, sticky one, like you mentioned. Yeah.
It is. And I think a lot of teachers now will also go off and do things in their own time, off their own back. So we talk about conferences teachers are going to, and we've got numerous different conferences taking place. And we're very fortunate here in the Middle East that we've got really good conferences. So there's like middle leadership, there's then Middle East leadership, there's AI, there's where else we've got Abu Dhabi ones, there's Dubai conferences.
You've got AI in education think tank.
Exactly, yeah. And and the teach meets that go with that. Yeah. So within a small proximity space, we've got a lot that can do with that. LinkedIn, every teacher seems to be here on it, and so there's a network of being able to share ideas. So that's teachers doing it off their own back. I think where schools fall down, and I think where schools could be better, is saying to staff, your PD has to take place after school.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. Like, I could in a day have 100 students in and out through my door. And I've taught from year 7 all the way through to year 13. I've got a problem with a parent I need to deal with, something's happened, and I've done 10,000 steps. That's just a day. Yeah. And it's then going, right, and now you want me to come and be at my cognitive best to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like my energy isn't
That's
there.
cognitive overload, isn't
Exactly, exactly. But then it's like there's a thing about trust and responsibility, and you could say to teachers and go, look, you've got allotted free periods, and within those free periods, I know that sometimes you want to mark, sometimes you want to plan, sometimes you want to do nothing because you need that mental reload, and you need to rest and you need to recharge. And so a cup of coffee, stroll around, have some food, boom. But what if you allowed teachers the freedom to go, look, I'm going to protect this period, so you're not going to use for cover, that's your professional development period. So whatever you're working on, you can use that period of time to go through your PD. And yeah, most schools use Blue Sky, most schools use something along those lines that allows them to track and evidence professional development. Why don't you just give them that time?
Exactly.
Why don't you give them then the choice, and you're not going, well, we don't trust you. Hang on a minute, I'm a professional, I'm responsible for doing this, therefore if I'm responsible, you should trust me. What you're saying is if we all have to be in the same room, all at the same time, and all doing the same thing, does that show trust? Does that then instill psychological safety in me? And I know 1 or 2 schools do it that way.
Right.
Most schools all do it that. Why? Okay, well, then what's the message you're sending out? So if you want to get better, I think if you want to get better professional development out of staff, you want to get better learning, better sharing, all these different things, give them that time. And then maybe once a month go, look, we want to bring everyone together because it's an opportunity for you to teach and talk with the maths or the languages or the history or the art teachers that you don't get to speak with on a day-to-day basis. Bring those ideas, share what you've been doing, and see how it can impact your classroom. Something like that for me would be more beneficial than one size fits all for PD.
That's a very insightful one, honestly, because we have to give that time to them to be able to, to have the autonomy for their own learning and development. So what would you say is the biggest fear in the emergence of AI in secondary? What would be, because for higher education, I know it's about academic dishonesty, and when professors feel like they have to spend hours just to mark scripts or something that has been generated for about, and also it's about critical thinking being eroded. Students are losing the critical thinking, the cognitive offload is on the high side, and all of those things. Those are the problem we're facing in higher education, and it's like that, almost everywhere. But I wanted to understand what is the biggest.
It's a challenging question, that,
Yeah.
because I think from again, context being every school is going to be slightly different.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'll give you just one thing that I think would be in there, and it's probably different from an academic honesty. I think it's misinformation. I think there is something to be said about misinformation and students therefore getting the wrong information from it, the wrong idea from it, and the wrong advice would be one. And we see this in terms of emotional support or counselling through AI, those types of things. The misinformation, missupport, misappropriation of all those different things. I think that is a big concern, where a student or a child is more comfortable talking to their machine than they are to another human. And we've seen examples of that from the US as well. There's probably lots of different areas I could go into in terms of, are we worried about academics? Well, I'm not, but that's very insular from me because of how I teach. If I'm another teacher who doesn't, and if I'm still setting tasks that a child can offload to AI, then I'd be worried, because I've not evolved and adapted my approach to suit the current climate of what I'm teaching in. There's the example for professional development. How am I choosing to set work? My 12-year-old daughter comes up to me most days when we go out driving home. She's like, why do we have homework? I'm in school for this many hours doing that much learning. Why do I need to carry on at home? It's like, I'm a child. I want to be a child at home, Dad. Yeah. It's like, yeah, darling, it's a fair point.
Very, very fair point, honestly.
And I agree. Why? I don't set, and if I could say it, and people, I don't set homework. I don't believe in it. I really don't believe in it, because, here I am talking about mental well-being and the load of students. Like, by the time some of them get home, it's 5 o'clock. What time with family, time with friends? I'm not saying screen time, game time, but they might be in clubs or sport and all these other things. It's like, let them be children, let their brains recuperate. So I think it's that there's a worry of how much work we give, and loads of people will say this, like, I think it's Parkinson's law about however much time you give to a job, you find out that the work will fill that time. Well, AI decreases that. So what do you do with the rest of your time? More stuff. Try and do more work. Try and do more things. So the issue of that burnout is there for students as well as teachers. But I would say, just as a different approach to it, misinformation. Because then it's the critical lens, it's how do we generate critical thinking, the appraisal of information, the summarization, just understanding what's going on. I think with that part, as a different way, that's the part that worries me. Because I think loads of people out there, and you may find this, and others will go, like, my wife comes up to me all the time and says stuff. She says, did you know women need more sleep than men?
Exactly.
And me as a scientist, I'm like, wow, great.
I didn't know until recently as well.
Where did you find that? And she went, Facebook. Oh. And then here's the thing. Where do most people get their news from?
Exactly.
TikTok.
Social media.
3 billion people get their news from social media, mainly TikTok.
Yeah.
That's where they get their news from.
Yeah.
Misinformation. So that for me is a big concern.
I really like that perspective, misinformation, because you can, for example, there are some AI generated videos and they look so real, and people come back and saying, did you see what happened at the zoo? Lion attacked a tourist. And I'm like, show it to me. Oh, this is AI generated. And honestly, probably out of 1 million people, let's say even if it's just 5 people that believes that, then it's a problem. It's a problem. Let's talk about Doxa. Is that how to pronounce it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's a coaching platform.
So
what was the inspiration behind that?
So I found over the last couple of months, I've got into AI-assisted coding. I'm in no way, shape or form a developer or a coder. It's very much AI-assisted. And I was, as most international teachers are, I think teachers around occasionally will do a little bit of tutoring as well. And it's then a case of, it's pain points of WhatsApp messages with parents, obviously payments, tracking everything else, being organised on a calendar. And that for me was using 3 or 4 different platforms, and that was a point of friction. So I wanted something where I could solve my real world problem, so be a painkiller, whilst also developing the skills of AI-assisted coding and learning those things. And Doxa has come about from that. And the name's an interesting one. Everyone always asks about this. So Dux is within Latin to do with guiding or leading. And the funny part is because now it's super hard to actually find a domain name that isn't already taken.
Oh,
so most of the ones you come up with, you're going to look at it, domain, is it free? No.
Yeah.
Next one, free? No. It's like, well, it needs to be short, it's easy to remember, easy to search, and it's something to do with that. So it started as a tutoring platform. It's still a tutoring platform. It's a month old. And it's a SaaS site, so it works all in one. And I then gone a step further and have been building out a mobile app, which is going through iOS with Apple development.
I have a lot to learn from you, Alex.
I tell you what, getting a mobile app approved is hard. Yeah. So there's so many things to get right, and actually that's a good thing from Apple, and it's a good learning part, because once you've done it once, then you can go right. And there's a whole checklist to go through. They provide you with a whole checklist. So all these people that go, you know what, build fast, just push it out, deploy. It's like, yeah, but you're not building apps. You're not building mobile apps. We're talking about web apps. You know, yeah, you can build something, push it out. We're talking about SaaS products where it's like a site as a service. So I've been doing that, and it's really interesting. And someone over Christmas saw the tutoring one and was like, this is so good. Could you build one for coaches? So it's a very similar thing in terms of working with clients, having different forms and feedback sessions. We want to have time zones that move. So I was like, yeah, I will just take
an appointment as well.
So it works in that respect. So that has also been live just under a month. We've got some pilot people using it, but it goes back to that. Yes, I'm a teacher. I would probably go, I'm an edupreneur is the term I like, where I have these teaching parts and I love that, but I can take that knowledge and monetize it.
Absolutely.
You know, I've got kids that I need to put through university. That's what I say. But it's that no gatekeeping, but it's sharing those things and also being of value, because I learn from that and I can pass those things on. But yeah, it's kind of where the world is, I think, right now. And when we come into classrooms, I saw in class the other day, the students were on Google AI Studio and had made their own version of like Tetris. And then the other one that they did as well, they were playing on, I can't think what the name of the game was called. It's a super old one, like Space Invaders. Very similar to that, up and down, very simple in terms of doing that. These kids were AI assisted creation of coding. So when we say what's next, it's that. But for me, yeah, Duxa is trying to be.
I believe that there is nothing like having everything in one place, like one-stop shop,
Yeah.
where you know that this platform, I don't have to open this, open that, and open this for payment, open this to book an appointment, and
Yeah.
but having it in one place where people can do it, this is fantastic innovation. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's. I was thinking about it on the way over because it's there's so many other skills that then come with this because, and it's an interesting one to give to students as well. But from my perspective, I'm, as I say, it's not a coder, but I'm not a marketer either. You're having to learn like all these people, and students see this and get swept up and go, "Oh, there's this many, I can make this much money."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how are you going to put it in front of people's eyes?
Yeah.
Like all these kids that want to be influencers or do these things, it's like, how do you put this product in front of someone's eyes?
Yeah.
And that's a real challenge, and it's interesting again to learn with that and work within these
Now
systems.
we are putting it in the faces of all the
There we
others.
go. Yeah. So you just go to duxa.app. It's all it is. And you choose then if you're a coach or you choose if you're going to go for a tutor. And the tutoring one is free. So you can use it up to three students, 3 clients. It's got GDPR data protection. So it's all very well, obviously secure. From there, the data itself, you can delete everything. So I've made sure it's tight in that respect. And that's obviously, again, three clients, it's free. And then after that, it's like $12.99 a month as dollars. So we look at it and go, if you're a fully fledged tutor, independent tutor, over a course of a month, it costs you maybe 2% of what you might earn.
Exactly.
The coaches one, you can go into that, it's a bit more expensive, but there's more features. Right. So in terms of being able to have the invoices, contracts, forms, feedback, more of a client-facing portal. But the Dux Tutors is going to have the mobile app. So that from a WhatsApp perspective, when a parent comes up to you and go, hey, scan this QR code, it takes you through to you can pick and choose, fill in some information, and I'll email you back.
Job done. Yeah.
Automated emails, invoices, so that obviously for tutors, I don't want to mess with teachers' money. There's the thing. They've earned that money. It's
Absolutely.
like, look, 100%. You give your bank details or you can input your Stripe.
Yeah.
Now, most teachers won't unless they have a company.
Yeah.
But coaches might do. Coaches
yeah.
might have that, and then you can do that so it can go straight into those accounts. So trying to be obviously useful for those. But it's just that the question is getting the first dollar.
Excellent.
So if someone wants to come and there's a lifetime deal, so you can pay $149, have it for a lifetime.
Oh, I'm probably gonna do that.
Yeah, that would be great. Same with the coaches. The coaches one's like $299, but then it's a lifetime deal.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So it's there for a lifetime, no monthly subscription, usable for that. So yeah, if someone wants to be the first one.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Oh, thanks.
And to my last question, and this is what we do on each episode. If you have a question for our next guest, just one question for our next guest, what would that be?
Ooh, okay. The question is, if you approached your field in the same way that medicine and aviation approaches theirs, what error would you have come across by now?
Wow. All right. Good luck to the next guest. Thank you to our listeners, and I hope you've learned something just the way I've learned a lot from Alex today. And if you have any question or any inquiry, drop us a message at www.d2dpodcast.com. And feel free to follow us at D2Disrupt on all social media platforms. We'd love to hear your feedback on this episode and see how we can make things even better for the future episode. Thank you. Stay curious and stay disruptive. Cheers. Until next time.